Hello, and welcome to the Perinatal and Pediatric Conversations podcast, the podcast of the PPA. Tonight, I'm Dr. Linda Slack, and I have the great opportunity tonight to interview my partner, Dr. Jessica Tagliarini. Dr. Jessica practices in Connecticut, in West Hartford, I believe, correct? And tonight we're going to talk about husband and wife practices. How to make a successful practice working with your spouse. So, Jessica, first of all, how long have you and John been in practice together?
We have been in practice together since 2006, so almost 20 years now.
And I imagine that your practice has changed over time based on your family situation. So, when you were younger and you had young children, tell us about how you managed home life and your practice together. What did
That
that
was
look like?
actually, yeah, that was one of the best benefits to practicing with your spouse because childcare, right? So we actually, in the beginning, worked opposite shifts. So I worked in the mornings and he worked in the afternoons, and we never had to worry about childcare. And then, when you're making medical decisions for your family, like if you're going to decide to vaccinate or not, you are typically, a lot of times chiropractors are going to be on the same page with things like that. So it was really, really great because our kids got to be raised by us. And that is invaluable. And I wouldn't change a thing if I had to do it over again.
That's great. And so so you worked opposite shifts. Did you work any shifts together back then?
We did
Okay.
eventually once the kids were in preschool and then again in grade school. So the more they got into school, the more shifts we worked together and which was good because then we were able to help more patients and earn more income. But I wanted my kids to make sure to come home to me. So I continued to work in the mornings and he added in the mornings once the kids were in school.
Excellent. So tell me about now. What does your practice look like now? Do you still work opposite days? Do you practice together? Do you see the same patient population? How do you share patients or practice members?
Well, things have changed over the years from then to now. Eventually, like I said, we worked more and more shifts together. And now we pretty much work all of the shifts together. I do take one shift off for administrative time, and which I absolutely need. Somebody's got to do that, right? But now our kids are older; they're 20 and 17, and so we don't have to be there for them anymore. There's that's dramatically changed. The thing that's happening now is we've changed things in that what we like doing and what our strengths are. So for example, I'm a small person and we have a high volume practice, and as you know, being a chiropractor is a very physical job. So I've been practicing 24 years and I want to practice at least another 15, 20. So in order to continue to do that, I have to think about what wear and tear is like on my body. So I've actually, through the class I took through you as a perinatal or pediatric expert, and the other courses I've taken in pediatrics and my experience, I've kind of leaned more towards now taking care of the infants and the toddlers and the children, and so that's really been my jam. I also really, really enjoy doing the new patient intake. So about 80% of the new patient intakes, the day ones and day twos in our office, I'm doing. And my husband doesn't like doing those as much, but he really loves adjusting. So he's adjusting a good majority of the patients. And we've set it up and set the expectation from the get-go, and I go over this in my report of findings, that our patients see all of us. So, and my staff knows to schedule the patients with both of us so they get used to that, and that's you get what you get, you get the person you get. And so we're all familiar with all the cases. And so therefore, like if one of us was injured or sick or had to go on a trip with a friend, we would be able to cover each other's patients quite easily. So those are the two things, number one, we are able to do the things in the practice we enjoy because over time, you get a better and better idea the more and more you are into practice of what you like doing and what your strengths are. And so it allows us to embrace those strengths and do the things we like to do. but it also allows us to cover for each other when needed.
That's great. So, how many doctors are there actually in your practice?
Well, thankfully, we actually hired another associate this past year, and that's been wonderful. We really, really lucked out. I'm very grateful. And we have a chiropractor that just graduated that's going to be joining us on board. So we'll have even another chiropractor joining us, a male and a female. So that's really nice. And the thing I'm most excited about, quite honestly, and this is the biggest con to practicing with your spouse, is when you have a vacation together, or either the two of you or with your children, you have to close your office if you don't have an associate. So now, for the first time in a really, really, really long time, I can go on a family vacation and I don't have to close the office. So I'm very excited about the associate.
How about, do you plan with having associates? How else does it free you up? Do you and John plan to take more time off or to do other things? Maybe take another day off
Yes.
during the
One
week?
of my mentors early on told me that it's really, really important. Chiropractors are very prone to burnout, because it's really important to take at least a long weekend once per quarter. So even if you don't have a vacation once per quarter, which is a lot for some people and not for others, to at least take a long weekend, even if it's a Friday through Sunday, and just get a time out, spend time together. I think a 4-day weekend is actually ideal in my opinion, but we're gonna be doing more of these. And I think having vacations planned and having that on your calendar, giving you something to look forward to is really inspiring. And so I'm really happy about that, because you can even motivate your associate to cover your practice, maybe some type of bonus incentive for when they cover you and it's like a whole week. I got all kinds of great ideas around that I could share another time.
Great. What would you say is the greatest benefit of practicing with your spouse?
Oh, that's easy. Sharing overhead. Um, I know a lot of people who have a separate practice from their spouse. And so now you've got two practices, two overheads. We have one overhead and we make at least as much as those two practices, because we've really leaned on a lot of our mentors and learned how to maximize the space we have, and to, maximize the income we're able to generate from that. And so we're still growing and there's still room for growth, but it's really just great to have a set overhead, one set of staff, one rent, one electric
Absolutely.
bill, all those things. Yeah.
What about in practice itself? Does it help? What are the benefits to your patients and your practice members? What are the benefits to them of having a husband and wife team?
Well, you have a built-in colleague for case collaboration. So at least once a day, one of us walks over to the other person's adjusting station and says like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Or "Look at this X-ray. What would you do here?" Or it's really just nice to have somebody to collaborate with. If you have an associate, you have that too, but that's a really good benefit. The other thing is I found that, I don't know if it's like this with you and your husband, but we have complementary strengths and weaknesses. My husband's like, for example, he's the idea guy. He's like, "Oh, I've got this great idea." And honestly, when he says, "I have a good idea," I get a little nervous because, uh-oh, now what do I need to do? Because I'm the executor of the ideas. Like, I'm the person that's going to figure it out and make it happen. And he has really great ideas most of the time. In fact, it was his idea to get Webster certified and to specialize in prenatal that took me on this journey to where I am today with you.
That's great.
Yeah.
So motivation, right? You motivate each other in different ways. And throughout practice, have there ever been any times where like one of you came to the other and said, "Oh, I'm getting um, thinking that you need a change, you need to do something different, or get more excitement back in the practice," where you just basically felt burnout?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely during COVID, we were feeling a lot of burnout because we were both working a lot and spreading out the visits, and everything I felt like we're there all the time. And so we did feel some burnout there. And that wasn't because we worked with each other, it was just because of the whole pandemic situation. Um,
Sure.
but I think it's something that we did wrong that we could have done differently. And this is my advice to anyone who's considering working with their spouse is two things. number one, to set a parameter from the get-go, or set expectations of how long you're going to practice together. Is this while the kids are little? Is this a forever thing? Is there an exit plan, or is this going to be how it is? And there's no wrong answer. You just have to get on the same page. And we didn't really discuss that. And so there was a little bit of bumps in the road as we navigated that, but we made it through and we're still practicing together. The other one that my other bit of advice is to set the parameter and the expectation of like sharing workload. Like have a clear plan of whose job is this, whose job is that, and those kinds of things. And then, and also learning to delegate if you have really great staff is helpful, but really just how long you're going to work together and sharing the workload parameters are really important. So that's definitely my advice to anyone. That's the one thing that was difficult.
Well, thank you, Jessica. That was really good information. I, being in practice with my spouse for almost 40 years now, feel the same way. I think that you need first that special relationship with each other and then to share the duties. And like you, I think that um, we as the female doctors always end up doing the administrative part of the practice, right? And I enjoy doing it actually and managing the staff. So,
Yeah.
again, thank you for your words of wisdom. And we look forward to our next podcast in the near future. And as always, we'd like to thank Floating Axe Technologies for putting this on for us.